Greetings and salutations. We're back for another episode of Roots to Health. I'm Dr. Craig Keever, and this is my wife, Amy, my vegan chef. And today's topic we're going to address is remaining plant-based while traveling.
As best you can.
As best you can. It is admittedly a real challenge, especially at first until you get your rhythm going on that, but which can take a little time to.
And even so, every family is different. So depending on your needs, it's going to look a little different.
Definitely. You know, I mean, we've gone from the extremes of hardly any planning at all and flying by the seat of our pants.
Disastrous.
Which generally doesn't work very well. And we've gone from that extreme all the way to some might look at this as really extreme, but packing half of our kitchen and all the food that we're taking with us, and several points in between, you know, so.
And to that point, you get one life to live, do it the way you want to do it. So it's like some of our friends have given us a hard time, but hey, it's okay.
Well, and I can tell you some of the most, some of the most enjoyable traveling since we've been plant-based has been when we knew we had everything we needed.
Yep.
And it may have seemed like a little excess to carry, but it certainly made knowing that our health is going to stay where we want it to.
Well, and one of those trips was Eureka Springs, which you wouldn't think. Eureka does have some vegan junk food options, but Eureka is a little bit of a nightmare when it comes to a grocery store, or I shouldn't say that. I love Eureka, but we brought almost everything because I was running Fast and Furious that week with Gallery. I didn't have time to prep. So literally we brought Vitamixes. We brought, and hey, again, if it works for you, we stayed at a house. So that made sense. I'd rather have my own tools anyway. So.
Well, and just to kind of reemphasize kind of what she was saying as well, this is really a pretty important topic, particularly for those that have significant health issues that we're trying to treat with food as medicine.
There's not a whole lot of information out there as well.
Right. We picked up a few things from a couple of YouTube videos that have been helpful, but our hope with this episode is to share some of our tips and tricks and, maybe get some discussion amongst other plant-based people about, hey, this has worked for me really well, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, between the health and the sustainability and also we may or may not dive into any of the ethical issues that we've dealt with before in terms of why we're even plant-based, but that all kind of fits into the general topic here. So I guess the first area that we'll jump into is what my outline refers to as pre-trip planning. Kind of like I'd said, the prep. We, like I said, have done a few of these trips of varying lengths with almost no prep. That just...
which in turn looks like greasy Mexican beans and rice.
Yes. I mean...
in Deep East Texas.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, the options become... like she's alluding to, fairly limited in terms of, restaurants and things that if you don't know the area where you're going to and you're kind of stuck with whatever's there. And, in terms of the types of restaurants that tend to be a little more plant-based friendly, Mexican is one of those,
sandwich shops, maybe.
Some sandwich shops, yep.
Surprisingly, some of the best baked potatoes I've had have been at a steakhouse. So now they might be coated in bacon grease. I found that out later. But there can be some really great potato bars where if you could just pack even your ranch dressing that we love, sauces are the key in my mind. If you're not going to be able to, if you're flying, and I know we're going to kind of go in, you've probably got a plan on how we're going to talk about this, but if you can just bring sauces, I have a little purse that everybody kind of knows about where it's an ice chest, but it looks like a purse. And so I just bring it in and I bring my sauces. I didn't bring the backpacks today. I wish I had thought to do that. That's a great one.
Yeah. So that being said, I think we're going to try and link with this episode some of the types of equipment that we picked up. And
people have asked us about putting up an Amazon store just so we can know what those products were. They can go right to it. And so we'll probably link that store to where, I'm developing that to try to show people because we do have a lot of products that we love that we like to use.
Yeah, for sure. Also, in the pre-trip planning, there are apps to use to help you find restaurants that may be more compliant. Of note, Happy Cow is one that I've heard a lot of people talk about. We've used it some.
And the thing that I will say about Happy Cow is I used to think it wasn't very helpful because it would show anywhere that lettuce was found. However, if you look on the ratings will tell you great vegan options, because if it just shows you like what the restaurant is, it might show Taco Bell because it's got lettuce and tomato. But if the rating part of that is a really helpful thing where people will say, hey, we ate this, we like the vegan option, da-da-da-da-da. So.
Yeah, I used to, after my brief scanning of Happy Cow, I sometimes take the superficial approach to it. And once I figured out they listed, Wendy's as a good vegan option, it's like, really?
There's lettuce there. That's right.
And they do have a baked potato.
Yes, but it's very greasy.
Other apps that may find a spot in your armament here, Google Maps and TripAdvisor, those are the main ones I think that I've seen kind of used in terms of...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but on Google Maps, you could also look up, and they have like word choices that you can go by. So if say that there's 500 reviews on there, if you go up and just push vegan, it will go to all those that talk about vegan entrees and things. So that's kind of a way to kind of get around.
As you might have surmised by now, she's not only my vegan chef, but also my tech advisor.
Sometimes.
Other sources include maybe if you kind of know where you're going, checking local grocery stores for anything they may carry in terms of plant-based snacks and other essentials. We generally do most of our even plant-based shopping at Walmart. We find a few things that we need at specialty stores, for instance, like Whole Foods or Atkins or some other natural food store. But by and large, we still get most of our groceries from something as simple as Walmart.
And on planning ahead, another thing to do, like I have a conference that I'm going to speak at in May, and just plan ahead. If you're going to drive somewhere, do you have an Airbnb where you'll have a full kitchen? Where's the latest Whole Foods? Where can talk to their chamber? A lot of times chambers will be very helpful if it's a small or big town and say, yes, we have this, or the local hotel. I was able to say, do we have if my room doesn't have a kitchen in it or, like full fridge, is there one close at this resort? And sure enough, there was. Mm-hmm. So just being able to talk to someone and say, is there a little fridge I could have? Am I close to Whole Foods? Do they deliver? We're still having things delivered to the house that occasionally come from a hotel that go back to a hotel because I had a delivery in Pennsylvania somewhere, and oops, they changed the address, and so my extension cord went to Pennsylvania as well. But anyway, that's another. That's not so techy there. And
another thing about pre-trip planning that we actually haven't gotten into so much yet. But related to the kinds of equipment and things you're taking with you, I've seen a couple of YouTube videos on the topic of kind of creating your own hotel room kitchen, so to speak. And many of these people, they get a regular suitcase size container of some sort that's easy to pack up and haul that will contain things like a hot plate, and dishes and various other things, cutlery and whatever you may need to create your own kitchen in a hotel room.
Right.
So that's an area that I found a little bit intriguing. We just haven't ventured yet into making our own, but it would make a very good sense because as you may or may not see at some point, our trip to Eureka, we've referred to we actually used some Milwaukee toolbox crates of varying sizes.
They roll like really nicely.
Yeah, there's a nice.
We're going to be around bumpy.
That's right.
drives.
It was a really nice. The bottom one was a very large one, and then they kind of get smaller and kind of attached like Legos, so to speak, and so it made it very easy to haul several things like our Vitamix and various other cooking bowls and utensils, and then the food. Actually made it quite easy to pack in the car, and took up, kind of the least amount of space and whatnot. So
another thing I love too is my Hulken bag. A lot of ladies have a Hulken bag, my hot pink one.
Oh yeah.
And it's super handy because it does carry a lot of weight, and it's something that if you just need to throw a bunch of things in there and just roll it to the car, even if you had to take them out if it's too heavy, whatever works for getting there is what I say.
You bet.
And you'll do it wrong the first time, or you'll do it wonky just like a child that walks. It's like it's all a part of it.
Well, and getting around, and the longer we stay plant-based, the more little tips and tricks we find, different things that we'll think, oh, and then we'll realize that works a lot better, so we'll tweak this as we go for sure. All right.
You want me to show anything about the ice chest?
Oh, yes. That's part of our equipment as well. Yes.
We have these square ice chests, and I know for those of you that are just listening can't see it, but you can check it out on YouTube if you need to see it. So these are like ice walls, and we'll try to put that somewhere where you can find those resources. And it's super nice because, golly, we would do something where we would do bunches of ice and have to get our hand down there and freeze. These you can, it's like Tetris. You take them out, move them around. And also we have the black tubs to where everything's stackable. And so you want to get something like with our sauces, we want a good lid. We don't want something, falling apart. So this works so beautifully. You can put them in between layers. I really like this system. And we have backpacks. When we had our last two grandbabies born, I was going to be at the hospital all day long. And I thought, how am I going to do this? And so I found backpacks that are ice chests.
Yeah.
And it was we use those all the time.
Yeah, we do.
And just, we always have these ready. We always have the ice walls ready. And for those of you who can't see it, they're just basically those thin Kona ice walls. They come in different sizes. So
they're about an inch thick, and
you put the stuff in them, and I keep them pretty flat. They have their own. And that's another thing at home is make it easy with, maybe we're over the top, but we have one fridge where we keep all of our frozen fruits, and we have one freezer, and then we have another freezer where we keep all our frozen veggies. We keep these in their own thing, and that way we just boom, boom, boom. That efficiency will pay off in the
Yeah, definitely.
So
all right. So the next segment that we'll tackle here is dealing with eating out and navigating different cuisines, as we kind of addressed a little bit. We've found, Mexican restaurants can be a source, although you got to be careful. A lot of those, like the refried beans, are full of lard, and things like that. But some of the types of restaurants that I've found in just a little bit of research that, we haven't yet mentioned, Mediterranean is a possibility. And some Asian restaurants, again, any restaurant you go to, really, cooks in America don't know how to cook without oil.
Yeah, it's kind of it's, to me, vegan food is, as far as the healthy side, it's more of an elevated type of cooking because it's not hiding behind all those oils.
That's right.
It's not cutting the time.
Mm-hmm. So, one other possibility in some restaurants, if you let them know that you're plant-based and would like things done without oil, not all restaurants will.
Try to call ahead of time.
Yeah. Calling ahead of time is very helpful, especially for the not quite so fast food places.
Right.
There are obviously plenty of restaurants that, you get what you get, and this is what we got. But if you've got a real guy back there doing real cooking, then I say guy, that's rather sexist. But a real person back there doing real cooking, then hopefully they'll be able to kind of modify and make things, and many restaurants will do that.
You know, and I always try to be really complimentary and say we're really grateful to find anybody who's willing to help us with this, and we will get the word out, because there's so many vegans that aren't able to, that's a whole niche in food that needs to come out, because there's a whole lot of us, really. And it's important, I don't know how people do it, but people that are coming to Northwest Arkansas will be on some of these community boards, and they'll say, hey, what's the vegan food around here? So if there's any way to join those boards, if you're going somewhere often, that's a good way. But the local area, like the chamber and stuff, seems to know a lot about those. Like Arcega's, man, shout out to Arcega's. We love and adore that place. That's got to be one of my favorite places.
Oh, yeah.
The burger is...
just off of downtown Fayetteville.
So
yeah,
great.
It's a really nice place. Let's see.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like Craig and I were talking earlier. It really comes down to, if you look at both sides of whether you're eating meat and dairy and or vegan, if you're on the decadent side of it, you will have those high flavor profiles on both sides. If you haven't, you just haven't had good chefs to cook good vegan food for you. So what we're talking about is more the healthier side of either way of eating. And so, yeah, that's going to give a little bit that you're not going to, if you were a kid, you'd want to have ice cream. Oh, who am I kidding? Maybe if all of us would want to have ice cream every meal if we could. But at the end of the day, we can't do that. So it's not really, it's like one chef I love talks about, this is more of a cuisine than it is an identity.
Right.
What we're talking about.
Right. That's very true.
It's really just about helping your heart and helping your body and the planet and the animals.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that I forgot to kind of bring up in the pre-trip planning kind of thing, if you're anything like Amy and I, when you hit the road and you're driving somewhere, having some plant-based type snacks is because otherwise I'm stopping at
gas station.
gas stations and getting
And you
M&Ms.
don't even really like it. It's just that you're just hungry, and something about a road trip makes you feel like you have to eat 5 times more.
That's right.
It's law.
And we've had a number of snacks. One of my favorite is what we call crack. Don't worry, it's not really crack.
Right. I'm sure they're not worried.
But yeah, it's an oatmeal based with a drizzle of
Almond and vanilla and maple syrup, and it's toasted, and it is to die for.
yeah.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It is so good. It's like crack. You can't not eat it.
Can't put it down.
Chocolate brownies, another one. I've got some more that are more rich. I've got some that are lighter, and those are really, really good to just kind of snack on. Fruit.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's always.
But something about, I do try to make us kind of roadie type foods. I try to get us some crunchy something or other that we've done the roasted chickpeas.
Oh, those are fabulous too. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So if you'll just lean high on those seasonings, that helps a lot as far as, but because really, I mean, after we did the whole chronometer thing and we were looking at 9 grams of fat for a bag of chips that's like this big, it's like, okay, that's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've joked some in the past about our fat bucks.
Yeah, our fat bucks. Dadgum, that's too many fat bucks. I mean,
Too many fat bucks, it's just not worth it. Well, and not everybody's needing to watch the fat count as much as someone with insulin resistance, but it certainly isn't, particularly good health care to dive into those kind of processed garbage.
and if you can monitor it now and at least try to stay, monitor your blood work. Not that we're trying to tell people what to do here, but it's like, if you can stay on top of it, then maybe you can stay at that level where you can kind of dip your toe in. But it's the not monitoring and just Katie bar the door that gets you in trouble.
It's why the state of health is what it is in the United States.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I saw something fixed the other day on TV, and it was, oh my gosh, it was fat on top of fat that was grilled on fat and then deep fried in fat. It was like, I couldn't get over how many, I thought, I can't imagine why we're so sick.
Right.
I can't even imagine that tasting good.
Yeah, no. I mean, and to your point, we recently had an experience at a restaurant that we've loved and went in to eat. And I don't know if it's our palates are getting continually cleaner, but we had a meal that I think we've had there before. We both walked away from that meal just feeling like it was just laden with oil, and it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't as enjoyable as it has been in past. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on, particularly when you're traveling, is, the ease with which all these oils and processed garbage gets into, and we can do it.
And salt.
Like that. And salt, yeah.
And be like covered up in salt.
Yep.
I mean, and that's, I guess, where I'm at with my cooking is I'm wanting to get to an elevated state where I can really, our mission is, gosh, could we provoke change somehow? Because we look at some of these plant-based doctors who really have moved the needle as far as forks over knives was just incredible for that. So it's like, if we could show people that elevated food like this could taste just as good, we'd have more of it. We'd have more options. We'd have more flexibility. We could stop at a gas station and get something like that.
Right.
Or a restaurant.
Well, and to the point of the pre-trip planning and prepping and stuff, the main issue here in this culture is that it does take time to do all that stuff, and it does take forethought, but my perspective at this point in my life is that the amount of time and effort that takes is actually worth it to my health.
Well, and the time that you're not going to spend having to recover your body.
That's right.
And to that point, like just we were talking about what we had for lunch today. I did like I sauteed like a Thai. And when I say sauteed, I did it in vegetable broth. I mean, I've heard people, and I'm getting sidetracked here, but I've heard people say, well, it was really hard for me not to cook with no oils. Well, it kind of depends on where you've been with that. Like I never really let myself have a lot of fried foods, so that wasn't a big deal. But anyway, sauteed some Thai veggies, did it in an egg roll, a vegan egg roll wrap, did a peanut sauce. So that had about 15 different plants based on the stuff I put in, the spices. Your tofu scramble was probably about 10, I would say at least.
And that's what I had for breakfast.
Yeah, so I know people would look at that and maybe say, man, I can't fix food like that. But the point is, I make the tofu scramble on Sunday. I make enough, and it keeps very well throughout the week. So it's that one moment that I introduce all those different foods. So it's not like it's just round the clock.
Sure. Well, and to our point of the traveling theme of this episode, that tofu scramble, it's one of my favorite things for breakfast. And that would be a really easy thing to just, like we do already, make a container of that, which takes, less than an hour, and fill that. And now all of a sudden we got breakfast for us for many days on the road. Right. And all it takes is a microwave to heat it up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I think
5 plants in 2 meals. You're really supposed to get up to 30 a week.
Yep.
It's possible. It's very possible.
And so to the travel aspect of this, it really does come down a lot to, the kind of equipment we have and the forethought we take to put into, what foods we're going to take with us and what foods we can plan on getting at our location or on the way.
Yeah.
And just having these already made kind of snacks, just not getting caught unawares is the big thing, because that's when, my compliance level drops.
Right. Well, in a typical East Texas, we go to East Texas a lot to see kids and grandbabies. And so a typical East Texas trip would look like, just to give people an idea, we would do the quinoa salad, several different meals packed in those black, and they just stack one by one by one. And we know enough meals to...
And these are little black plastic tubs with a clear lid on them. Yeah, and so they divide things up really nicely in a kind of serving or several servings size. And they all just, like she's saying, they pack really nicely together. It works.
And our sauces, we have our snacks, we have extra fruit. Sometimes we're doing smoothies, and so we aren't even eating but maybe 1 meal a day, depending on if we're doing smoothies for breakfast and supper. So, it just kind of depends on it never looks the same twice. Right. Really.
Yeah. Well, a couple other things about traveling and whatnot. And do not forget the whole aspect of staying properly hydrated. That, I think, is a somewhat underrated issue in terms of helping those hunger pangs and things like that. Not that I'm saying that, a big glass of water will fill you up per se and satisfy everything, but it can kind of take the edge off of things. Just making sure you're staying hydrated, and the difficult thing that we've dealt with that, ideally, it's best for your body to get roughly 96 ounces of water a day.
That's tough. When you're doing a lot of greens, that's tough.
Yeah.
Add the two together. It's like, holy cow.
But as close as you can come to 96 ounces a day will ensure that you're staying hydrated and the like.
And Craig really doesn't need this, but I tend to be where I want my favorite cup with my favorite level of ice and my little glass straw. So it's like, make yourself comfortable, do the same things you would any other time, and create your little oasis there.
Yeah. So kind of a wrap up of where we've been, getting the proper equipment, whether it's, the bigger tubs that we're packing lots of stuff in, or the smaller like backpacks that are kind of ice chests.
And we should mention, for day trips, the ice chests are fabulous.
Oh,
you can carry them. They're really pretty comfortable. We went all over New York with some of those. Well, I guess I'm thinking more of Miami and that trip. Yeah.
But I also, I've got a lunch box that Amy packs for me most mornings, and it very often has things with one of those smaller ice walls if I need something kept cool. And so, we use these things on a regular basis. But the containers that we use for packing and storing, and then the food containers, and then again, just checking ahead at restaurants and grocery stores, and those are all really
somehow figure out ways you can get into that community and figure out who would be the person that could because we've learned a lot by finding somebody who lives there or knows a friend, and my friend's vegan, and so that's how that get into your community.
Yeah, totally. And the bottom line is that for me is kind of a end all take home point is while traveling as a plant-based person can be more difficult, it's definitely very doable.
Mm-hmm. We're doing it. Yeah. And for instance, when we went to New York, we didn't pack anything. We indulged in the greatest of vegan restaurants. It was absolutely fabulous. The food could not have been better.
Yeah.
I had a burger there that was like a vegan bacon burger that tasted like it was, just the best of the best. Yeah. It was amazing.
Well, in a place like New York, if you're traveling to a large city, you almost invariably will have vegan options that you wouldn't have in East Texas.
Yes.
Right? I mean, in New York, you can't hardly throw a rock without hitting a plant-based vegan something.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you're taking care of yourself, that is really what indulgent food's supposed to be about. And, I feel like we've talked a little bit about the channel that I'm going to be creating with, cooking and different things and growing our own herbs and things like that. I'm really excited about it. But I feel like I want to show people, okay, a weeknight, you might be able to have a little bit of this. It's not heart healthy necessarily, but you might be able to put a little bit more indulgence, whether it's more fat than you're used to or something like that.
That's right. Well, all right. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Roots to Health. And we'll hope you tune in to our future episodes.
Take care.
Thank you.